Hello everyone and welcome back to another day trading recap video. I just had the pleasure of recording this whole entire recap video just to realize that for some reason my microphone didn't pick up the audio. I think it has something to do with restarting my laptop because of some Windows update. That was always mess up my computer, so shame on me for not double checking. But anyway, that's where we're at. And where else we're at is the market is just giving me such a headache. Today in the Discord, I straight up just said, so on average, we can rewind. On average, I like to kind of wrap up my trading once I'm really nailed at least one front side move, and I'm typically over 5% based on my average position size. Right now, I feel like if you can just get green on the day, it's best just to walk away. So I've reduced my kind of, I don't want to say target. I don't really have a target on the day. It's kind of like whatever the day brings, and as long as I trade good, I'm happy. But right now, like if I'm up 2, maybe 3%, but really like around 2.5% based on my average position size, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to go call it and just walk away, because until the market just calms down, figures out what it's doing, it's just overshadowing small caps. For example, right now, today, CPI report came out lower than expectations. It was still okay. It was just lower than expectations. Boom, crashed the market you know what, let me just go to the trading screen. Crashed the SPY pre-market so aggressively, and then it, randomly just fully recovered. And, this kind of action makes it a little bit harder to trade front side momentum, especially with small caps, because, traders are just overwhelmed. They're looking all over the place. They're kind of focused on managing their investment portfolios a little bit, maybe trading larger companies or just trading the index. So it's the small cap, especially front sides, get really, really overshadowed. And the front sides really don't have a lot of that longevity. So you get a little pop up and then it crashes. So it's really, really tough lately. So something else I did actually want to mention here. Actually, no, before I do that, sorry, I'm all over the place too myself after having to refilm this. But, today I'm up 170, which, it's okay. It feels like a little bit of a scratch day. And I'm fine with that because, like I said, it's not a hot market right now. And with every trader, I have to remember what I said and what I haven't said yet. Every trader has, every year, maybe like 1 or 2 quarters, somewhere in that range, where that really makes their whole year, right? Like, oh man, last month I made, what all 3 of my last 3 months combined, or yeah. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting for the market to come back together, get a little bit more volume, have a little bit more consistency, and that's when the small caps, specifically front side, are just going to be really, really nice. So that's basically what I'm doing. In yesterday's recap video, I said, survive until you thrive, and that's what I'm basically doing right now. So if I don't have a big green day, I'm happy, as long as, or I don't mind, as long as I don't have any big red days or I put myself in a hole, because then I'll start, trying to dig out of my hole, and it's kind of annoying because you probably should have not been trading anyway, and so on and so forth. So right now, reducing size, reducing kind of how much I hope to make, and so on and so forth, I think is the right attitude going forward. Right before we talk about these individual trades here, I did want to review 2 things, one of which is, May. Unfortunately, I'm still red in May. I'm down, 343, but after today, I'll be down like 150. So it is a slow month for me. It's just kind of like, it started with 1 foot back and then 1 foot forward, and now it's just like constant back and forth. Haven't really been able to lift off. Last month, April, was much, much cleaner. So this was a good month overall, but yeah, May has just been really, really slow for me. And like I said, it doesn't really bother me so much. And the last thing I did want to mention before we move on is, when the CPI report came out, a lot of people in the Discord were asking, where's the CPI, or, what's the CPI report? When does it come out? And all these questions, they're quite repetitive. Now, I think it's good to ask questions. I never want to really bash anyone for asking questions. But at the same time, sometimes I'll answer those questions with a long-term solution, a little bit more like teach a man how to fish instead of giving someone an answer. So I don't usually just write, it's coming out at 8:30. And the reason I'm doing that, I don't want to, sound condescending or, sound like I'm not trying to be helpful. The reason I'm doing this is because when I first started trading, I followed so many people, and nobody really cared about you becoming a sustainable or like self-efficient trader. So what I really like to do in the Trade Journal Discord is try to make you guys as self-efficient as possible. For example, like if someone asks like what stocks should I trade today, it's like sometimes I miss stocks as well because they're not on my scanners, but ultimately you should be thinking, what kind of strategy do I want to trade? How do I find the stocks for that strategy? For example, I trade the gap and go strategy. I look for momentum lead gappers on the day. So I want to have a scanner, right? I want to scan the market for the lead gappers. That's how I find the stocks. Sometimes my scanner doesn't pick up stocks, and then sometimes on top of that, my second scanner doesn't pick up stocks. I like to use two, and then I see it in the Discord. So sometimes I still miss things, and I like to constantly improve. But you should always be thinking like, how do I answer this question for myself? And then to help you get to that point, those are the questions you should be asking. So maybe where is the CPI posted? For example, like CPI right here is on bls.gov. You can get all the information here and see the different times they get released on the days and the times. Now, what I do is I have this news section that just goes through a bunch of different news sites and so on and so forth, different places I like to check. I also have, halts here, so I can check out, why ticker is being halted and so on and so forth. RDBX was a very busy ticker today getting halted. The SEC, just to check out company news, 10Ks, so on and so forth. You can pretty much always find everything here. The New York Stock Exchange for having the holidays and stuff like that. These are all things I check every day before my trading session, and it kind of makes sure like I don't get surprised by anything. I kind of have a good idea what's going on overall, because you don't want to be randomly surprised as a trader. I don't want to put too many biases in on anything, but it's important just to kind of know what's going on. Like 8:30 this morning that the CPI was dropping. It's definitely good to know. So what I do to make this as easy as possible for myself is I just bookmark these pages. That way I can quickly open them. I could literally just right click or control click news and boom, brrr, they all open. And then I go through them very, very quickly. It takes minutes for me to like really have a good idea what's going on. So I would recommend that to anyone that maybe doesn't have those bookmarks or have some sort of morning routine or something like that. It's I find it very, very helpful. So I just wanted to start off with that. Let's dive into these tickers. I think there's probably four really worth talking about. The lead one is RBLX. I didn't trade this one, but I think it's pretty important to talk about for sure. This ticker was quite nice actually, and RBLX. No, that's actually not what I was talking about. RDBX Redbox is what I was talking about. RDBX just became a lead gapper, that's all. So this ticker, pretty crazy what happened today, and I was not expecting such a good move from this ticker. It had very low relative volume, and also the 1 minute volume candles weren't really that high, so I didn't get excited about this ticker, and I never actually ended up trading it, even though I probably should have, although there's several reasons why I didn't. Two specific ones. Volume was kind of light on RDBX, and I was kind of wrapping up by the time it did pop up. And then two, TOS, I was having huge issues with TOS today, which was kind of annoying. It wasn't happening with RDBX, but it was happening with the ticker Snowflake, Snow, and that kind of spooked me a little bit because I feel like I'm covering a lot of topics today. Because every year, I would say in the last 2 years, about a dozen times, give or take a little bit, TOS crashed on me. I couldn't get out of a trade. I was on the phone with TOS for hours trying to resolve an issue. And when those things happen, they tend to happen throughout the day a little bit more. Like it happens once, I'll get stuck in a trade, and then it happens again. I'm like, oh, why didn't I just learn my lesson? So after that happened to me today, I was like, whoo, let me like be careful and maybe not trade these tickers with low volumes that are fairly volatile, but at the same time it's kind of not a good overall market, so we're not getting a lot of continuation, so probably not a stock you want to get stuck in. So that's another reason I stopped early today. Anywho, RDBX, they fell off a cliff pre-market. Let's actually look at this really fast. Look at this at like, what is it, 8:30 or so? This ticker just 7:30 or so. Ticker dumped, and I thought when I saw RDBX, I was like, uh-oh, offering, we're screwed. But it wasn't an offering; it was actually news pending. Quite surprising. It was actually good news. It was acquisition news, which sounded pretty good. You guys probably know Redbox. It's always like outside like your 7-Eleven or something. You can rent a movie. Now there's another company that's acquiring them, Chicken Soup for Seoul Entertainment Inc. They're acquiring this company, which makes it a little bit concerning if you, let's say, own like Netflix or something, because the competition in this space is just it's so fierce, super fierce, which makes me a little bit nervous. on, there's this one article I wanted to share with you guys here. Let's see if I can quickly find it. Yeah, here's a little bit of a piece. Let me see if I could just zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit easier for you guys to see what's going on here. So here we go. Our acquisition of Redbox will accelerate the scaling of our business as it combines complementary teams and services to create the streaming industry's premier independent AVOD. I'm actually not sure what that is. Redbox has 40 million customers in its loyalty program. That's pretty high. I didn't think it would be that high. And high potential digital television assets, including carriage of over 130 fast digital channels on its free live TV platform, as well as robust TVOD and PVOD platform. So yeah, I mean, this is a tough, competitive space with very low margins. I'd be nervous if I was a shareholder in pretty much any of the larger companies like Netflix or whatnot. Maybe not Disney because it's very diversified, but you get my point. So, but hey, RDBX looked really, really good, and I probably should have got more aggressive on it. I mean, look at the 5-minute action here at this point. Whew, really nice. And not to mention, right here, I mean, this is when I was starting to look at it again, right in this area, and we still had room to run for that bit till that big resistance at 5 and 6. But at the same time, I had those issues earlier with snow, and I'll talk about that in a second, so that kind of put me a little bit on edge. Not to mention, on a different ticker, we also had room to run. We'll talk about it in a second. I think it's VERU, and we didn't even get halfway to the next resistance zone. So it's not a really hot market, and I don't really want to gun it. So at the same time, it doesn't really bother me so much that I missed out on RDBX, but hey, it is what it is. So let's just keep moving on. Let's talk about these tickers here, starting with BWV. Hard to say. I'm slightly up on this one, $95. I mean, overall it was a scratch day, but at least it was a green scratch day. Let's go to this ticker, and we'll just start on the daily. Big sell-off here. It's kind of stuck in a range. Biotech, 12 million shares outstanding and 73 million market cap. Okay, that's kind of interesting. It's lacking a catalyst today, but it's had a few more come out recently in the last few days. That's why I had all these bumps to the upside. This is actually the first time I traded this ticker, because most of the time when it was running was actually when I usually stop trading. I stopped trading around 10 a.m. So I missed several of these spikes in the past. And with BWV, it kind of feels like, oh, Alex, you should have traded this one a little bit more. But, look at this action here. So it pops up, and I don't really get interested on tickers until they're up over, 20, 30%, or really 30%. This ticker was only up like 12% here and 20% at the top. There was just nothing really else so interesting, so I actually started trading this one. I missed kind of one of the better pullbacks here, but I get these two moves just with very small size. I should have been trading this one with like 2,000 shares. So that's how much I usually would want to be trading it. So you could tell I'm really sizing down. And then volume fades. And then look at this big red candle flush here. And then volume really dies again. And this breakout here is quite choppy. So I don't really think I left too much profits on the table at all. VERU, one of the more exciting tickers today. Slightly up on this one. But the problem with VERU, and let's just start with the daily again, is this ticker is just littered with bag holders as well. It had all these failed spikes here, and now it's selling off, and now it's back to that 9 EMA resistance right below the $10 major resistance, and it has very low relative volume. So that's so many red flags in a row. But let's go through this one. Personal product company, 80 million shares outstanding and well over $500 million market cap. So definitely on the high end of those stats. But it does have COVID product catalyst, so that kind of sounds good. In terms of the 5-minute, this ticker was also lacking momentum to the upside. Like this was only like a 20, 25, 30% move from yesterday. So that's not really that interesting either. Eventually it breaks here and actually give back a lot of my profits right here in this. And then at the market open, this ticker was a disaster. Disgusting. So yeah, maybe I gotta adjust maybe when I trade tickers. Like if a ticker's up 20%, I mean, that's maybe more than I could ask for, even though at the same time, I don't want to change my strategy just because we're having, a few weeks of slump in the market. I would just kind of sit out as much as I can and wait for the market to heat up again so I can get aggressive on those good setups, because I think I'll make more money long-term doing that. So yeah, a little move here. I bought these pullbacks and, waited for rips that were sometimes very light. I didn't get a lot of these good moves, so that was a little bit unfortunate. It was still a 12% pop. Volume was actually quite okay. Look at this, 100,000 shares being traded per minute at pre-market around 7:30, not bad on a $10 stock. I mean, that's actually quite good. Unfortunately, this is where I gave back pretty much all my profits, so that was a little bit annoying. I hate giving back a lot of profits just in one trade. I thought we still had some really, really good room to run here. That's why I was getting a little bit more aggressive. Remember on RDBX, I said, we still have good room to run. But that's what I thought on VERU, and we didn't. So you just never really know. Where do I think VERU is going to go? Well, it's back to break even, or back to pretty much where it started. So that's really not a good sign. I actually forgot to talk about RDBX. Where do I think it's going to go from here? I did mention that in the last recap video, which or the one that I had to redo. But this ticker, I'll be very, very careful. Obviously, you want to look into the acquisition news a little bit more, but I think this ticker is gonna have a hard time. Around $5 and $6 is what I was saying in my last attempt to make this video. It's gonna have a lot of back holders in this area, and we have the 180 SMA moving in here. So there's just a lot of overhead resistance, and even with this kind of catalyst coming out, we don't really have that much relative volume. So that's not really a good sign either. So I would be a little bit nervous. Not to mention, this is such a competitive, low competition space that I just I have a hard time really wanting to getting aggressive on it myself. I would day trade it, but I'm not super optimistic long term on that one. Anyway, Snow, the ticker that really I think caused me to mess up today, even though I am slightly green on it, really just a break even trade. A large cap, but at the same time, it was making a nice 5-minute breakout here. So had a 5-minute breakout at the open, had a 1-minute pullback, and I bought this pullback looking for continuation. It popped up, but the volume was very light and, breakout or bailout. So I was trying to bail out. Problem was the price was going over my sell limit orders and I couldn't get out, which was really, really frustrating. I had no idea what was going on. The price actually went back down. I had some entry orders. They didn't get executed either. And then I removed all my orders and I was like, oh my God, am I in? Am I out? I don't know what's going on anymore. TOS was acting funny. And this is something that happens every year a few times. In the last 2 years, I think it's been about a dozen times. And they resulted in me being on the phone with TOS, me being paranoid for at least that day and maybe another day. And it just messes up with my psyche. Eventually, I had, limit order a small size here to see if, it would trigger again. These finally triggered. It popped up. I closed for break even. And then, the stock did kind of exactly what I was thinking it would do, obviously at a different timing. But, that was pretty frustrating. So this was around 9:43 when I stopped out. And then that's when Redbox, RDBX, was, doing its thing right in this area. And I was like, it's not a hot market. TOS is acting up. This ticker, which is actually looking okay, is really lacking volume. So I wasn't very optimistic on it. I definitely didn't think it was going to do this, especially because, look at this huge sell-off. I didn't want to be caught into some other, pending news halt, even though it was, having a huge bottom bounce, which was insane today. A lot of things made me a little iffy, and then I said, you know what, I'm just not going to trade this. Like, I don't feel comfortable trading, and I don't regret it at all. This is the market where if you can get green, just wrap it up, run for the woods, and just wait till there's a little bit more consistency out there. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing today. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to drop a like on the way out. Consider subscribing if you're new. We'd love to have you part of this community, and like always, guys, stay safe and make some awesome trades. Ciao, ciao.